Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what guns you should be using after the most recent patch for Warzone. We just recently passed 800 subscribers on this channel, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped make that possible. Having said all that, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be SMGs, and then after that, we're going to talk about assault rifles. So the first SMGs we're going to talk about are going to be the MP40, the Type 100, the Owen Gun, and then for solos and duos, the Modern Warfare MP5. So those are going to be my S tier SMGs. And what I mean by that is those are the best of the best. I really think that if you're looking to use an S tier SMG, you have to decide what is going to better suit your playstyle. I'd say the MP40 is better in the hands of someone who's more aggressive and knows how to utilize the mobility, and something like the Type 100 and the Owen Gun are going to be way better in a more conservative player's hands. It's not that you can't be an aggressive player with the Owen Gun, because I use it ton as an aggressive player, and it's not that you can't be an aggressive player with the Type 100, because you can. It's just that the MP40 has a little bit more mobility than those two, and the Owen Gun really shines in the mid-range, and the Type 100 is kind of like a mixture of the two. If you're looking for the attachments and builds of any of the S tier guns I'm going to talk about in this video, go down to the description below and that's where you're going to find them. In the background right now, I'm going to have a list of my A tier SMGs, and I really want to point out that this is not the end all be all of SMGs. There are so many viable guns right now, and it would be almost impossible to truly list them all. So moving on from there, we're going to get into assault rifles. Now, I'm going to be breaking this section into a different tier list for consoles versus PC. So for consoles, I'm going to have the Cooper Carbine, the Automaton, then the third slot, I'm going to have the FARA and Grau, and then the fourth slot, the Bren and Caldera AK-47. Because console has a lower field of view, the visual recoil of guns like the Caldera AK and the Bren can be a little too intense for some people, and that's why guns like the Cooper Carbine, the Grau, and FARA are going to be seen on the S tier list for consoles and not for PC. Guns like the Bren and Caldera AK-47 usually have a little too much visual recoil for the average console player. It's not that if you're a console player, you can't use those guns, because when I was playing on PS5, I used the Bren and Caldera AK-47 with no issues, but I do know a lot of console players have issues with the really insane visual recoil those guns have. And that's why something like the Cooper Carbine and the Grau and FARA I rate so highly for consoles. And that's why on PC, my list is a little different. At number 1, I have the Caldera AK, number 2, the Automaton, number 3, the Bren, and number 4, the Grau. Now, those are really ranked in no particular order. I'd really just say the main thing is going to come down to your playstyle, your comfort level with these guns, and also whether you play Rebirth or Caldera. Guns like the Bren and Caldera AK feel a little better on Rebirth because of their high damage, but the low recoil and easy to control feel of the Grau and Automaton really shine on Caldera, where you often have engagements that are beyond 50 meters. However, having said that, a lot of people do use the Bren and the Caldera AK on Caldera to great success. For example, for me, I'm an extremely aggressive player, so the Caldera AK really matches my playstyle. I think if you're a more relaxed player, then the Automaton and Grau are going to be a little better, but there's also tons and tons of A tier options that are just as viable really at the end of the day. I really feel like guns like the DP27, the STG, and the FARA are being super slept on. I've been using the FARA, and I know a lot of people think it feels pretty sluggish, because it does. It doesn't feel too mobile, it has a really slow reload time, and pretty slow ADS. But it has great damage at pretty much all ranges, it has low recoil, and it has a 60 round mag, which just feels amazing when you're killing a lot of people. For me, the FARA is one of the most slept on guns and one that I'd highly recommend for people to use. The other thing is right now Warzone is kind of seen as split, and a lot of people like to only play Rebirth, and a lot of people like to only play the big map, and you have to understand certain guns are going to work better on different maps, and you just have to be aware of that. That's why right now I'm going to be breaking down the best classes for Caldera, and I'm going to be breaking down the best classes for Rebirth. And because Rebirth is so popular right now, let's talk about the best Rebirth classes. The Caldera AK and MP40 is my go-to class right now. Second, I'm going to have the Bren and Type 100. And third, I'm going to have the Grau and Owen Gun. Now, you can really switch around these guns in any way that you want. But for me, the Caldera AK is so dominant on Rebirth Island, it's really hard to put into words. If you were to go to sim.gg or True Game Data and just compare the Caldera AK to really any other assault rifle, you'd understand what I mean. Secondly, this new MP40 build is insane. The gun has outright some of the best mobility in the entire game. It has some of the best damage between 0 and 15 meters out of any SMGs, and it's easily one of the lowest recoil high damage guns in the entire game. That's why it's my #1 class. However, you should feel comfortable switching and swapping guns as you please. A lot of people, they don't have the Vanguard long range guns level up. Maybe they use the Cooper Carbine. So if you use the Cooper Carbine, then maybe you need to use the Cooper Carbine and the MP40. Or maybe you need to use the Cooper Carbine and the Type 100. Or maybe it's the Modern Warfare MP5. You have to use what's best for you and what you have leveled up. But I'm just going to be giving you what I think are objectively the best classes. And you can kind of take and use what you please. Now, I want to state that this is not going to include snipers. So if you're wondering where I think snipers fit into this, is I think snipers are extremely meta right now, but they're not going to be mentioned on these lists, by the way. So for the best Caldera classes, I'm going to have the Automaton and Owen Gun at #1, the Bren and MP40 at #2, the Caldera AK and the Type 100 at #3, and the Grau and the Modern Warfare MP5 at #4. Now, as I said before, you can really kind of swip and swap these guns, and you can also use a lot of the A tier guns as well. For example, if you're on console, I think the #1 class is going to be the Cooper Carbine with the MP40, for example. However, I was watching a ton of wagers from some of the best Warzone players in the world today, and a lot of them were using the Caldera AK and the Bren on this map. So it's all going to really kind of come down to your personal preference and your playstyle. The same thing goes for SMGs. I see a lot of people use the Owen Gun on Caldera, but I also see a lot of people using the Type 100 and the MP40. So it's really going to kind of come down to what you prefer. The MP40 is super mobile and it is super good, but some people don't really have it leveled up and they don't like it. And it really goes down to that personal preference thing. The gun that feels the best to you and is the easiest for you to hit your shots with is oftentimes going to end up being the best gun regardless of stats. A gun can have a higher time to kill than another gun all at once, but if you can't hit your shots with the quote-unquote meta option, then it is so much better to use the quote-unquote non-meta option. I'm going to start wrapping this video up now, guys, and I want to give a quick apology. In my last video, I read a ton of sources on Twitter saying the health change was coming to all game modes, Rebirth included, but when the patch dropped today, the health change was not included for Rebirth. I do want to say sorry for this. I know it's probably a small thing and it really doesn't matter, but I feel bad when I mislead people and I put false information in my video. And as I said, I had a lot of reasons to believe it, but it was unconfirmed and I shouldn't just trust speculation like that. Anyways, I also just want to say thank you though for helping me get past 800 subscribers. As I said before, at this time a year ago, I was at 80 subscribers. On March 25th of last year, I had 85 subscribers exactly. So to be at this point is absolutely insane, and I owe it all to you guys. I cannot wait to see where this channel ends up, and I just want to say thank you for helping me get to this point. And also, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good day. It's been Ryan. Peace.